This is an open letter to Uncle Sam. Love you, man. Here's the thing, Uncle Sam. There are two ways to bring order, to keep order, as it is, thank God. There are only two ways to keep a certain order going. One is overwhelming overwhelming micromanagement by a very strong center. Overwhelming micromanagement by a very strong center, which is the way Uncle Sam seems to be headed. Or another way of keeping order is to, leaving regional issues be without interference, period, on either side, period. Because you see what happens when Uncle Sam doesn't take sides is that a lot of small issues is overlooked, and at least the big issues, the structure of the societies, stays. The big issue, the keeping the structure of the society, that stays, that doesn't break, because that costs a lot. That costs a lot, this breaking of social structures by removing a dictator and let's smash this thing and let's build a new one. It's like, you know how hard it was to put the old one together, keep the old one together? What do you mean? Every couple of decades, every half a century, would the British like the Afghans to come over there every half a century and try to bring some kind of order over there by force? Some kind of, imagine the thing is the other way around. Imagine there are these, the British and Scottish and the British and the Welsh, these were fighting each other in the island that is Britain. Imagine they were fighting each other today. And imagine there are some troops from Afghanistan have decided to invite themselves, because Afghanistan is, let's say, it's opposite. Let's say Afghanistan is a geography on earth that is very powerful. For some reason they have become very powerful. And they have troops in this island called Britain. Isles, they have soldiers there saying that we are here to keep order. And they're not successful, so basically the central control has to spend a lot of money trying to enforce some kind of order there. Well, because you broke their old order. Their old order is where their social development has reached. It's a jello thing, folks. Thinking that you break the social order and it's done. No, it's not done. Social order is like a jello. And it's sort of, you punch it, you may smash it, but it will usually turn, after a couple of punches, still keeps its shape. It's a jello. That's how social development moves. By thinking that if we remove one dictator, then we're going to have democracy in a specific geography on earth, it's just, asking too much. Their social development is not there that values each individual. They're still in the pack animal. They don't value each individual. They value the top of the pack maybe the middle of the pack, the bottom of the pack, fuck it. They don't value each individual. That's not where their social development has reached. So this whole idea of a cowboy from, East Texas, West Texas, wherever he's from, but I'm just saying a cowboy who has had a suburban upbringing in a very specific religion, or thinking that he somehow has figured it out here on this side of the world with very skimpy information. They have figured it out that if they go in militarily after 20 years, this will have a much better outcome as where they are right now. Sort of like, yes, we can go break it and build a better one. 20 years later, there is another better one because their social development is not there. It's a jello. You broke the mold, but you think this is going to come out as a cube? No, you broke the mold, it will form another mold, but still it's not going to be cubical. That would, solve your problem. That would fit in the exact position that you want it to fit in your, team of allies. So they're taking over enemies to make allies out of them. These are going to be allies, but they're going to be allies under pressure, and suddenly allies under pressure are all these Saudis that commit all these kind of acts against Uncle Sam. Those are allies under pressure. You see, we have two kinds of allies. They keep bunching allies together. We have two kinds of allies. We have lovers and assets. Sweden is a lover. Norway is a lover. Britain is a lover. Saudi Arabia is an asset. It's an asset. It's not an ally. It's an asset. So and now Iraq is supposed to be an asset. So the local population should quiet down and go about their business and never mind. Which local population? The whole idea of Indians comes to mind. That we have to, go in that land and try to force something down the throat of the locals by force if we have to, including, taking ownership of the land from the redskins, from the brownskins, from the blackskins of South Africa. It's sort of like, folks, Uncle Sam, love you, man, but in general, the Europeans, people of European origin, the pinkskins of this planet, love you, but you guys basically spread your wings, and wherever you land, and you consider it yours, and start running shit there. Imagine on the personal basis, imagine leaving your apartment and going to an apartment a couple of blocks down the road and telling them that I'm here to create order for you in this family. Can you do that? If you have, you're armed, you may be able to do that for a short period. It's called hostage crisis issue. So if they don't want to be, catered to, be, under orders, if they don't want that, then we have issues. The point is this, love you, Uncle Sam. The point is this. just please, you got a responsible statecraft is one of these institutions that it seems, is talking of being responsible. That is to say, folks, you can't, before going anywhere in the world and deciding that we're going to bring some order here, you should speak to some, sociologists and train people in sociology. And, before taking over a country, why not send some sociologists over there, see if they come back alive, to tell us whether this is a controllable situation, it's not controllable, is it ever going to be controllable? Why not, if that's not possible, then you just send in SEAL Team 6 after SEAL Team 6 to just find that guy if you really want him. But that's not the point. The point is, Uncle Sam, the problem was not the guy. The problem was that, 15 of the 19 came from Saudi Arabia. 15 of the 19 came from Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is an ally, an asset. Whatever it is, it's under pressure. 15 of the 19 that were from that country, that means apparently there is a lot of pressure under that asset. Well, that's the logical conclusion, that if, people much smarter than I would have been spoken with, they would have explained that no, the situation is like this, and that, and this is normal, or this is. But the problem is that you cannot fix societies by force. Neither your own nor anybody else's. Societies can be changed by education. That's the only thing. Good education, good societies. Not so good education, not so good societies. That's the only thing that changes societies. The sanctions don't change societies. If anything, sanctions make them more determined. Because if you're being pushed, that means maybe you're standing your ground. Here's the thing, Uncle Sam. Love you, man. Societies move at the pace they want to move, that they can move. They shouldn't be held back, like in case of Saudi Arabia, or pushed back, like in case of the Iranians. This interference, I mean, we all, are fans of Star Trek, right? Hopefully. In the basic understanding of the first rule, the prime directive of Star Trek, is basically saying that, okay, we will not interfere in anybody's business. We will not transfer technology. These are people who are supposedly, it's a fictitious tale of people traveling between solar systems and between galaxies, and and they were able to reach different inhabited planets on their way. And the rule was that you only start communicating only if they're above certain level of understanding. If not, you don't communicate. You do not communicate with the Indians of the Amazon rainforest who do not wish to communicate with us. We should not communicate with them. We should not. Should not, because and that's the thing. If it's invited, yes, there's no choice. But the whole idea of the Star Trek is that, and once communication, if it's within past a certain threshold of technology and culture, they should be contacted only after a certain level, and even then stay out of any kinds of business. No transfer of technology, no transfer of know-how, unless they are above. Then if they offer, you can take their technology. But the point is this: this is not being executed on Earth right now. Technology is transferred to certain states and prevented from certain other states. Technology is offered to certain states and prevented from other states who are within their capacity, who is within their capacity. So the point becomes, if they are within that capacity of producing such a weapon, then maybe we sit down and say, you're welcome to the club. Please, we know you can do it, but okay, let's trade. Let's have more tourists there. Let's have more products there. Let's have, more in common with each other, so we feel more safer with each other. That's the only way. I mean, Uncle Sam, the only way you can bring some kind of better understanding with any country is to talk more with them, trade more with them, and talking means tourists. And the whole idea of vaporizing the general who actually brought some kind of stability over there, vaporizing that motherfucker, he was a local hero. He brought some kind of peace, whatever you could call it over there, because the reason Saddam had to apply so much pressure is because these motherfuckers are like this. They needed the pressure. They have to be under some kind of pressure, or else they're gonna murder each other, because the education system was bad. And you stop talking with them. Instead of sending them teachers, instead of sending them tourists, instead of sending more Americans to that land as tourists, sort of like incentivize tourism to places that you have problems with. Uncle Sam, there is no reason not to do that. Incentivize tourism for your own citizens to go into any place you feel there's a problem. There might be a problem. Have more of your citizens go over there, talk to some locals, bring back some information, share some information, do some business, spend some money, and the relations will improve. End of story. Anywhere, if you want to, Uncle Sam, if you want to be, taken seriously, to be taken seriously, you either can, carry a big stick, or have a smile, go in with a smile. That's the only way to feel secure. You either carry a big bat or you smile. Basically, you're going in to fight, or you're going in to find a way out of any issues that might arise. So, Uncle Sam, just having a big stick doesn't mean you gotta, carry it always. Eh, It just doesn't. Having a big stick, but, you can keep your big stick at home and everybody knows you got the big stick, but walk around with a smile. Uh, you know, don't eliminate local heroes. He was a hero for some reason. Many people liked him for some reason because he brought some kind of fucking order. He drew some kind of line and said, okay, you stay over here and you stay over here and start fucking killing each other. And for that, he was vaporized. Well, after you gotta have some kind of local influence to be able to pull shit like this off. So if you have that local influence, why not use that local influence? Hey, let's sit down and we talk. Hey, let's have some coffee. Let's have some tea and let's negotiate some kind of fucking normalcy in that area of the planet. Just don't vaporize the whoever brought some kind of stability. In fact, that's the thing, Uncle Sam. I don't understand. Saddam should not have been removed like that. It should not even have, he should have been prohibited from attacking the Iranians. He should have been, sent 2 more American tourists to Iraq, try to, enlighten them with, incentivize. If you want to have influence, Uncle Sam, you can do the smile thing. You don't need the stick thing. You can do the smile thing, and I mean, who in this planet, who would, if let's say Nigeria, if a secretary of tourism in the United States goes and tells Nigeria that we want to send you 10,000 tourists next month, and these are going to be our boys, girls, to you, 10,000 of them, and you're going to keep them for 2 years. They're going to spend money in your country for 2 years. You think Nigeria is going to say no to that? Of course not. If you can do that in mass, that means have a, draft people in right after high school, 18 to, right now you can open it 18 to 30. But on its rotation, after all these up to 30, 35, you go through. After that, it's going to be rotation. Every year, man and woman between the ages of 18 and 20, they owe 2 years to Uncle Sam. Got to be a tourist somewhere. And these people can be assigned, countries. They become, so familiar with the countries, and the countries become so familiar with them. And this is a good thing. You gotta incentivize tourism. I'm not sure why it's not being done like that. I mean, you say, okay, folks, again, you can carry a stick, or you can carry a nice fat wallet. You see what I'm saying? Or you can carry a big smile. The wallet thing never works. So it's all about the smile. You don't need the stick. It's about the smile. And if you can send tourists in these countries, Nicaragua, send young Americans there to, teach and learn. and just go to the beach. But be there, spend some money, mix with the locals, and because these guys are Uncle Sam's children, 18 years of education in Uncle Sam's system, hopefully they are, you know, they can start businesses, you know, start jobs, continue in the local university, or just go to bars every night. Does not matter. The point is the mixing part. And this is all that has to be done, Uncle Sam. It's if let's say in 1970 you have problem, you think you have a problem there, anywhere in Vietnam, or the French are pulling out was the old colony, and now you're somehow, apparently now you and the French are on the same boat. Remember, French were a colonial power. Being in the same boat with the French is never a good idea. But apparently, you know, Uncle Sam felt responsible for the old colony and got involved. It's like, why? It's a local matter. Obviously, I'm not the local one, but okay, whoever can bring some kind of order here, okay, bring order. Now let's sit down and talk. Everything good? Everything fine? You want trade? Okay, we can trade, no problem. By the way, beside the trade, I see you're a poor country. How about I send you 10,000 tourists per year, starting from tomorrow? Yeah, tourists, they come here, they spend money, they live with us, they learn from us, they teach us. Why not? Of course, come on. And it's if the attitude is that, okay, let's go, we say we have the right solution, right? Here's the thing, all these wars is about who has the right solution. If we have the right solution and we're gonna come over there and kick your ass because our solution is the right solution. Now whether these were over religion, they were over, you know, money, territory. It's always over money and territory, profits. But the point is this, I mean, why not solve the problem with more contact, more tourists, incentivize tourism? That is to say, literally tell people they owe 2 years to Uncle Sam and send them out and pay them to live overseas for 2 years. Everybody has to do it. It's a luck of a draw which country they end up in. Just leave a lottery. That's a good lottery. That is a lottery that Uncle Sam, these youngsters, after they come back after 2 years, these youngsters are going to be, all of them speaking at least 2 languages at that point, have experience in living in 2 areas of the world, not just one. That's a good thing at the beginning of life, giving an experience of living in a different part of the world for 2 years. That's an experience that you know, that's an experience that you need to have. You need to have to appreciate a life, to appreciate what you have. You see, I mean, it's a lot of these antisocial people that you see around, especially at the upper echelons of capitalism. A lot of these guys are very antisocial. They're very overly competitive, and very overly competitive are by nature are antisocial. Overly competitive is basically are the ones who are, saying, screw everyone, you know, my customer, my supplier, my screw everyone. It's all about me. So that's why they succeeded in capitalism. Now you're telling me that, okay, now these people who succeeded in being selfish are in charge of, our politics too. They're in charge of the direction that societies go, whether they send in war machines or they send in tourists. And you're thinking to yourself, of course these guys who are, all about the money, of course they're going to forceful overtake or forceful enforcement or forceful attempt at bringing a different order to a local population by force. I mean, I'm trying to say, Uncle Sam, because by force makes money. These arms manufacturers, they all have Facebook pages with no shame. It's sort of like we are in the business of enforcing our will upon some poor schmucks on earth who weren't as lucky as us to be as smart as us. So because we were smarter than them, and we built these weapons sooner, we got everybody else by the balls. It's a, you can do that, but then, I mean, the nuclear arsenal went to waste. Why? Because, Russia, Soviet Union basically stopped working. One side's machinery stopped working, and the other side was machinery was going very nice. But at that point, the idea should have been, if Reagan was a great thinker instead of Reagan, right after the collapse of the Soviet Union, if Reagan was a thinker, not an actor, this is what he would have done. He would have brought back the conscription, have 2 years mandatory military service, and as I explained, send young Americans to Russia and all the republics that separated as tourists, all men and women between the ages 18 and 35 have to go do 2 years of mandatory tourism service anywhere in this area of the world, because they're going through some hardship, because their system, their machinery collapsed. Now they're going through some hardship. Now it's our responsibility to, go alleviate the pain by actually, taking money and spending money in their place. This didn't happen. The Russians were humiliated, and because he was an actor. He was an actor with, with a large ego. So, he took credit for, collapsing the Soviet Union single-handedly just because he said bring the wall down. So he single-handedly took credit for that, but an actor. But then no follow-through. After him, George H.W. and from East Texas, Mr. Bush from East or West Texas or East Texas, he came, and another gangster from Texas, another cowboy, another suburban upbringing of, suburbia of some big town in Texas is Mr. Such and such. Such a mentality wants to come in and, tell people on the other side of the world that what is right and what is not. What society are you from? What are the norms? The norms in your society may not be the norms in their society. The only way that shit was being kept together because the guy was applying a lot of pressure. Once you let go of the pressure, they started awful videos that came out that how barbaric they treated each other. That's why he had to apply the pressure. I mean, you want to change the barbarian to a modern man? Send them tourists. You don't have to, go in with the guns. You go in with the tourists, with a smile and some money to spend. So they see an American as a source of good. Uncle Sam, if you can send some tourists to these countries, recruited from your own population, within a couple of decades, everybody in the world is in love with you. You want that, right? The shiny city on the hill? The shiny city on the hill? That would be it. You're sending your young people to all these lands to learn from them and teach them, individuality. Teach them capital. If your idea is capitalism is the best and democracy is the best, okay, send the citizens in to have a one-to-one conversation. Your citizens having one-to-one conversation with the Cambodian, with an Indian, or with a Pakistani, having a one-to-one conversation with them. Yes, a few may perish, God forbid, but martyrs. But the point is the communication. The communication in these, what I'm trying to say, in some of these dangerous places, if you might have everybody, and what I'm saying is, and bring their people. You invite them. You don't need to pay for them. You just invite them and say, hey, you want to send tourists here? You're welcome to send tourists here. Within this limit, the limit is as much as we are sending you. If we are sending you 10,000 tourists, you're allowed to send us up to 10,000 tourists. If you can't afford that much, you can send less. But the point is this, and they will, come and appreciate being allowed to come and study, learn, work here, and maybe start business here and learn here. And after their 2-year stint is back, go back. If they don't go back, they're an asset for you. If they do go back, they're still an asset because they still have connections here. The whole point of order, Uncle Sam, the whole point of order, the only way order that can bring about is if you incentivize your citizens to be nice to their citizens and receive niceness back. End of story. That's how you bring order. Look how nice we are. We are not sending you soldiers. We are sending you tourists. Look how nice we are. Now appreciate us. Again, at the beginning, it probably is going to be, a little uncomfortable. But with those uncomfortable places, send less. If you see it's a shitty place, send less. Start with a little number, but especially because they're shitty, you have to, eventually you have to pick up the speed to better it. Make it a little better by having more tourists over there over time, not at the beginning. Over time, have more tourists over there to have, a better understanding of the place. You see what I'm saying? So, for example, a country like Britain, which we have the most understanding with, when I say we, I mean Uncle Sam, and has a better understanding of the British. So the British, don't get that many tourists. They're not allowed that many tourists. In whoever wants to go on their own dime to Britain, they're welcome to go. But whoever is going on Uncle Sam's dime is going based on some upside down classification. As more to the countries that we seems to be having a misunderstanding, these countries get, priority. So, but doesn't have to, at the beginning, it doesn't have to be really too much, but you can start with as little as 500 a month, 1,000 a month. 500 of our citizens want to come to your place and stay there for 6 months. Start with 6 months. 6 months after that, send them to somewhere else. They have to live somewhere else until their 2-year stint is over. But the point is this: the 6 months over there, let them study each other. Let the people communicate. I can assure you, at least this last Iranian government would have been, would have been okay with that. At least he would have been okay with that. The new one, I don't know. But the point is this: if there is an opportunity for peace and working something out, it's much better, because lives lost is just so unnecessary. If you don't want more reproduction, promote more contraception. There is no need for this kind of human on human violence. If there's a misunderstanding, send them more tourists. Use conscript from your people and send them over there to just spend money. Go to a hotel room, live in the hotel, live in a studio and spend money. Live in a studio, and you don't have to pay them much. Just to pay them a soldier's salary, $2,000 to $3,000 a month. They get a soldier's salary and they spend it however they like over there. Rent an apartment, live as a homeless by the beach. Who cares? Do whatever you want, and the point is this communication with the local population. And the local population would appreciate it a lot because of the money that is being spent. The point is, more communication leads to more connection. Some marriages come out of this. Some lifelong friendships come out of this. Some long-term relations have come out of this. So the whole point is this: by this kind of contact, there is absolutely no need for war. Everyone, if you imagine every one of these wars that any country, specifically Uncle Sam has been involved with recently in the last 50 years, 60, 70, 80 years, most of them have been so unnecessary. Most of them have been because the British felt the answer is in blocking the Germans, not cooperating with the Germans. The Brexit was another step in that way. The answer is blocking the Germans, not cooperating with them. And unfortunately, Uncle Sam, British think you got their back. The British think you got their back, so they are positioning themselves as Taiwan to China, as Japan to China, as South Korea to North Korea. They are positioning themselves, the British, as Israel to Britain. So the whole point is this, folks. There is no misunderstanding here if there is more communication. And that's the thing. I think if you cannot come to any kind of agreement, have an agreement on tourism. Hey, we don't agree on anything. We don't agree on anything. What we do agree on is tourism. Let's start there. And the tourism is the tourism of Uncle Sam's conscript. They're between 18 and 20. Start with voluntary and end with mandatory. 2 years. Uncle Sam pays as equal to soldiers' pay to go become a tourist for Uncle Sam. Do whatever. That will be the solution to all these political issues that you have will be solved with tourism, international tourism. Now, you have to if you have to force it at the beginning, and that is to say, if you have to have a conscription to send the young, because believe me, these young folks, when they go there, they have to live for 2 years. After they come back, believe me, they will visit that place a couple of more times, at least in their lifetime, because they have memories there. So the point is this, then you're going to have multi-generational people who travel, of your people who travel to other places in the world and have local connection and have the local knowledge and speak the local language. You want that. CIA would be, would be no longer needed, because the information is coming on a daily basis. The guy, like in that city over there, we have maybe 1,000 people at any given time that we can call each one of them and find out what's going on. Because they're conscripts, they have to answer the phone. So the point is this, what's going on? The point is this, but you don't want to do it with that. That is a possibility, because those phone numbers can always be found. But those connections through the Ministry of Tourism can always be found. But there is no need for it, because soon after exchange of tourism, especially for as extended period of time as the locals are comfortable with, as extended period of time as the locals are comfortable with. If the North Koreans want to start with no more than 3 months, start with them for no more than 3 months. Send them a couple of thousand people, whatever number they agree, no more than 3 months. Stay there 3 months, be a tourist, and live, pay for your living expenses from the money that we are sending you. This will improve the image of Uncle Sam. This will make Uncle Sam as good as gold for the world. And Uncle Sam's, and after they get it, there wouldn't be a reason to do any harm to the goose that lays the egg. You see what I'm saying? As long as this motherfucker is here, he's spending money. So let's keep this shit quiet, orderly. If that's the idea. You want to keep the world orderly, Uncle Sam. If that's the idea, once the locals get a taste of a few tourist dollars that are staying long term and they have to be there for 2 years, once the locals get a taste of that, you have nothing to worry about, Uncle Sam, in terms of security. Because the locals would not want to do any harm to the guy who's laying the golden egg. Every month he's got a stipend that he has to spend on food, on health, on education, on housing, and everybody wish them well because they're good spenders. So the point is this, that it's an advertisement in terms of capitalism, if I have to describe it. It's a good advertisement for Uncle Sam. And it's a good advertisement for democracy. I mean, the best advertisement for democracy would be, if you show them that how good your citizens are, how generous your citizens are. That would be a good thing. Send them tourists. And wherever you feel there's a problem, try to send them as much tourists as they can handle. You don't want the system to break down, you don't want but send them as much tourists as they can handle. And who better to send? Young people. Because they're still more flexible in terms of accepting a different environment and not having too much difficulty accepting a slightly different environment or very different environment. Still, they can handle it much better than older people. So between the ages of 18 and 20, every man and woman gets the luck of draw to go and live somewhere else in this planet. If Uncle Sam does this, and Europeans already do this, the Scandinavians already do this. They have, it's like a large portion of population has traveled the world because their income is well. But the point is this. That's a good thing to go. That's a good way to go. And at the beginning, it might have to be, paid for as a, secretary level position with a ministry to handle. And you can put the ex-generals in charge of it. You can move the generals from, the war business, some of them at least from the war business, and put them in coordination business. And pay them same thing. A general is running, doesn't have to go in with the uniform, but goes in for the job and the pay, which is the same as a general. But the point is this: these guys would be in charge of controlling the system of going, receiving and taking, and receiving and taking, because this is what they do. Generals are in the business of humans and how to traffic humans and logistics and all of that. That's exactly the same thing. So the point is this: you start such a secretary level position, And I can assure you that within 10 years, you would not have a really need for a big CIA operation. You would not have a big, need for a big war machine or a big stick, as I said before. If you go in with the smile of a tourist, you don't need to bring your stick. The smile of a tourist who's spending money on local establishments, that's a smile. That's a smile to the local population. Look how good we are. You're spending money in your place. Folks, that's the only way to go. That's the only way to go. That's the only logical way to go. Going as a tourist, not as, warriors. Not a good idea. Tourist. I can assure you, young men and women, right out of high school, for 2 years, show up, we send you this much, $3,000 a month, but you have to live in Baghdad. You have to live in Tehran, you have to live in Jeddah, you have to live in Tel Aviv, you have to live in Istanbul, you have to live in Armenia, you have to live in Azerbaijan. $3,000 a month, you have to live there for 2 years. If the locals allow it. If they don't allow it, see how much they allow. 6 months they allow, then change them between countries until their 2 years is up. I think within 10 years, you have a really good planet. A really nice planet. Within 10 years. 1 decade.